When you're first starting design school, it may be the first time you've ever designed anything. It may be the first time you've designed a house, or maybe you've designed houses and it's the first time you've designed a library. Whatever the case is, it is really common for me to see students trying to take every idea that's in their head and shove it into one problem. And it becomes an issue because the clarity is all gone. It becomes very difficult for you as the designer to articulate, this is what I'm trying to do and this is how I'm doing it, in a sort of series of different layers. Because when you just keep adding more and more ideas, it ends up becoming a problem. It just all gets very muddled and everything sort of just gets chopped in half. In reality, a lot of times it doesn't really matter where you start: circle, square, blob, green, yellow, purple, like whatever. That all of those places in most projects are a fine place to start. It's just a question of how it gets executed from there. And so I know for me, looking back at work from graduate school, I mean, some of the projects I did that are my favorites are ones that actually just grabbed onto a rectangle and just sort of built it out from there. And by establishing limits like that, you actually can very often like work within that, and it gives you a framework and some friction to push against in a way that can be very productive. And when you look at a lot of like Rem Koolhaas projects, a lot of them are like these boxes that are then become these sort of these crazy architectures that are within a box. And so it's not about what it starts with, it's how it's sort of executed and developed along the way to see. And so even comparing that project to a different one that I did in graduate school, like to me, this project that we're looking at on the screen actually is very sort of confused. There's actually a lot going on here in different areas, like, windows and glass and the shape. It's the plan itself is like sort of skewed in a few ways. And this is my own work, and I'm looking at it thinking like, man, I can see a few different things, like too many different things going on in my mind as I was working on this. And I sort of remember that even though this is, somewhere between 10 and 15 years ago, compared to, something like this, where it's like we just picked this rectangle, put it on the site, and built it out from there. And honestly, that worked pretty well. And I remember even when I did that, the intent was to actually execute a project that way, because I sort of you can lose your way when you don't keep something simple, because everything, when there's nothing to sort of push back on you, everything can sort of slide around. And so when you're developing your projects, especially for someone who is really just getting into design school, or someone who may be having trouble with like how to get past certain parts of design school, the first decisions you make are very important, but they also become the background for all the other decisions you make. So I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but what I am saying is that you have to get started to be able to develop all the other layers. And so what's most important is having try to develop a clear idea, a clear goal that you're doing, that you're trying to achieve, and then just pick a starting point, whether it's something that a box, or something that follows the sight line, or whatever it is, the property line. It doesn't really matter. Just pick somewhere that is, a reasonable place to start and build it up from there, because the execution of it is going to be the thing that determines whether it's good or not good, not the starting point necessarily. So there's plenty of projects we can point to that are, these blobs or circles or squares or whatever. There can be good ones, there can be bad ones. So that is just showing that that's not the point. The point is how you execute it. So take it easy on yourself at the start. Realize that it's about the development and execution that's going to differentiate whether your project is really good or not. And that hopefully frees you up a little bit at the beginning, because just keep it simple and just get going. If that's helpful for you, liking and subscribing is the best way to show me that this is helpful. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you in the next one.